Hello, this is Mr. Doty, and this video is going to cover some adjustments that I've found that we need to make to the template. And this, of course, is in AutoCAD. And what I've done is I brought up my template, and this is the one that I did this fall 2025. And you'll watch this video forever and go 2025. But anyway, so I have my layers. Make sure you have the right line types on the right layers. I use center 2 for my center layer just so that it makes the line type scale a little easier. But the main thing for this video is let's look at dimension styles. And if you're not sure how I did that, let's go back real quick. So when you go over to the Annotate tab, you have your dimension little area of the ribbon. And of course you also have your leaders. Those are the two, the multi-leader and the dimension are the two things that need to be adjusted for the annotation part. We also set up some text as well, but the important ones are these two. So if you click on this little down arrow, it'll open up your dimension style. Now, when you start a new drawing, you have annotative and then you have standard. Well, what I've found, instead of making a new metric dimension style, what needs to happen is you need to use what's there and make the adjustments to the existing ones. Because what's going to happen is, I'll just show you. So on annotative inch, let's just talk about the settings real quick. Let's just start from left to right up here where it says lines. Okay, so one thing I have you change is the 0.125 because that's how far beyond the dimension line the extension line should go. This offset from origin is fine. Baseline spacing is okay. Don't need to make any changes. So then you go to symbols and arrows, and obviously this will change from the it's like 0.18 to 0.125. Now I know in the CAD book it says 0.12, but I do 3 decimal places because that's what an 1/8 inch is. Okay. Now, center marks, please turn them off. There's no reason for them to be on because there's a tool up here that we're going to use instead. So, turn those off. This stays the same, this stays the same. Now we go over to text size. Text style should be set to standard. Text height should be 0.125. This doesn't change. None of this down here needs to be messed with. Now, if you want to look at your text styles, you can click on this little button here. You want to make sure that standard is set to 0. Otherwise, the dimension style manager and the multi-leader style manager cannot override this setting. Okay? It can if it's set to 0. Then they can make it whatever they need it to be. So let's leave that alone. Leave it 0. Make sure you have a font that's decent, like Arial, Times New Roman, Roman S is fine. Now, when I normally do my video, we make a style 1, and technically you don't have to do that because you could do an annotative inch 1 if you wanted to start with, because we do the inch layout first, but I just still do it this way, and I make a new one just so that it's different from anything that if you were to pull in somebody else's drawing and use your template, it wouldn't override your settings. Okay, so that's why I create a new one. But I also make a metric one. I set it to 3. I make it annotative, and then I do the annotative one. I set it, make sure it's set to 0.125, And anyway, so right now standard is set current. Usually when we start off, we have style 1 set current, because that's whenever you're making your layouts down here. But you know, depending on what you're doing, like if I was doing an inch drawing, then I would set that current, and then I'll go back here and hit close. But then I still want to make sure this is set to standard, and of course we just showed that it was set to 0, and you set the text height to 0.125. Don't change anything down here. Under fit, obviously it's already set to annotative, that's fine. Primary units, now this is where we need to make some adjustments. In the old days I put 3 places here. Well, most of your drawings are set to 2 places. Now, for the advanced classes, you really need to look at how many decimal places are most of your dimensions. And then you can go and adjust the others using properties, which I believe I have another video that covers that. Okay, now the important thing about inch is do not suppress the trailing zeros. I don't care what any other teacher has taught you, but do not, on inch dimensions, suppress the trailing zeros. We just don't do it. The only thing you do with inch drawings is suppress the leading zeros. Okay? You never see 0.5 for an inch dimension. You see 0.5 or 0.25 or 0.125. Okay? Alright, so that's all you have to do for the inch, the annotative one that's already there. Now what I did is I right-clicked on it and I clicked rename, and I added inch behind it, just, you know, and if you're OCD and this needs to be all caps for you, then make it all caps or make that lowercase, whatever works for you. That doesn't really matter here. It's just like this one, I had my cap lock on already, which all your text should be in capitals anyway, unless it's a metric tolerance. Okay, now this used to be called standard, and what I did is I right clicked on it, I renamed it, and I called it annotative metric. Okay, now what did I do to change it? Well, it was all in inches. So what I did is I adjusted things and I said, okay, well, if 3/8 is the spacing, then when you convert that into metric, 9 would work. Extend beyond dimension lines is 3 for 3 millimeters, because 0.125 or 1/8 of an inch is equal to 3 millimeters, or close enough to where it's an even number. Offset from origin, I did the math, and 1.5 is actually closer than what I used to use, so this is what I'm using. And that's all you need to change on the first tab. So you go from lines over to symbols and arrows. Arrow size, change it to 3. Center marks, turn them off, none. Like I said, we're using these tools up here. Alright, break size needs to be 3 to match the arrow size, same spacing. This shouldn't have changed, and this shouldn't have changed, and none of these. Nothing over here in this box should have changed. So then you go over to text. We've already talked about text. Standard should be set up, and text height for metric is 3. And then offset from dimension line. So I did a little bit of checking on math, and yeah, I put 2.28. Okay, if you put 2, that's fine. If you want to do, 2.5, whatever, that's fine. That'll work. It looks a lot better because this actually was close to the conversion. Then you don't change anything over here. So the only thing you need to change on this one is the height of the text and the offset from the dimension line. Because if you don't, it'll be sitting on top of, or it won't be spaced right. Okay, fit. Now for this one, it doesn't start out annotative. It doesn't have the little triangle here. So you have to check this box and then move on to the next one. Now, I did think about trying to figure out whether or not you want to have either texture arrows, best fit, or if you want to adjust one of these, you know, that kind of things. But honestly, the more I thought about it, I don't know that it matters. So I just leave this here. If you have some special way you want to do it, feel free. Make you the adjustment. As long as they look good, I'm not worried about it. Now, for metric, there's only one decimal place ever. If you get to two places with a metric, then it's probably a NASA part or some different strange, you know, a standard that we don't use. Let's see. Now, the difference down here, it's the opposite. So here, we don't suppress the leading zeros because you do see things like 0.5 millimeters or 0.3 millimeters or 0.9 millimeters. Look at a mechanical pencil. See how it's labeled. Look at an ink pen that is, you know, has a size on it that's in metric, because it'll say 0.5 mm or 0.7. Now, it does not have, if there's a, you know, like you have an even millimeter, 10 millimeters, they don't put 10.0. It's 10, period. So you do want to suppress the trailing zeros on the metric one. Okay? So that is all that you need to change on this style. Now, remember, this one right here, we didn't create new. All right? In my old videos, I create a new one. Excuse me. And, you know, it used to work, but now it doesn't work. AutoCAD doesn't change the trailing and leading zeros correctly, so it just doesn't work. And so my workaround is to change this. And I'm in the process of making a new videos anyway. And so this is the update. Make sure you do it this way, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay? So do not delete the standard dimension style, whatever you do, because you're going to have to start all over again. Okay, well, let me double check and make sure, but there's that. Don't forget to also adjust your multi-leaders. Now on this one, you can create new ones, like I just used the annotative. I went into modify and moved it to the other screen, but anyway, for it, the arrowheads are 0.125, break size 0.125. I changed the landing to, it was a little big, so I made it 0.25 instead of the 0.38 or whatever it is. And then on the content, standard is the text style, 0.125 is the height, and that's it. Now, we're not putting frames on anything for any of things we're doing on this class. So don't put any frame text on, you know. If you need to make later on a different style, then add a new style and call it what it is, you know, basic dimension leader, you know, that's what that would be. Anyway, so that's all you have to do on this one. That's the annotative one. And then you have to make a new one. So you click on new and it'll say copy of annotative and you say sure, and then you'll name it annotative metric. Alright, so on this one, basically, arrowheads are 3, break size is 3. On the leader structure, the landing distance becomes 6. And I don't see anything else. And then under content, your text height is 3. And of course, it's standard. Now, the landing gap, on this one, you have to adjust it to 2.2. That's approximately what the original one is. Okay, the inch version. So I just converted it and that seems to work. All right, so that is pretty much everything for fixing your template as far as your annotations go. So we'll catch you on the next video and have fun.